This is Senate Appropriations. Will come to order. Please call the roll.
Kehoe.
Here.
Cox.
Here.
Alquist.
Here.
Corbett.
Here.
Denham. Leno. Liu.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Walters. Weiland.
Here.
Yee. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Senator Padilla, welcome. We are going to take up your bill, SB 34, in the 8th special session. You can begin anytime.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'd like to begin by accepting as author's amendments the two amendments recommended in the analysis regarding both the project development costs as well as the creation of a new fund for the deposit of the in lieu fees rather than an account.
Very good.
By way of background, I introduced this bill in the special session to help facilitate the siting of 11 solar thermal projects that are currently under review at the Energy Commission, which are also on track for 30% grants under the Recovery Act. The projects are located throughout Riverside, Kern, Fresno, Imperial, and San Bernardino counties and would collectively add more than 4,700 megawatts of renewable energy to our grid. As a result of California's RPS policies, we have not only been eligible but pretty darn competitive under the Recovery Act program. However, given the size and scope of these projects, the footprints themselves provide some unique challenges at the Energy Commission for their review. Time is short to meet the deadlines and the time frame required by the Recovery Act. And so I wanted to do a bill that would help sort of accelerate the review process. The original form of the bill did nothing other than say Energy Commission had to give an answer by a certain time. Given feedback we've gotten not just from the Energy Commission but from the renewable energy development community, the environmental community, and others, we kind of learned that maybe that wasn't the best way to help, as well-intentioned as we were. And in fact, this bill has now evolved to tackle some specific suggestions that we've been given that could be of greater assistance. But I want to be abundantly clear on one thing. In no way am I suggesting that we relieve any project developer of any obligation of environmental review requirements. Specifically, this bill before you would do 4 things. One, it would direct the Department of Fish and Game to develop a strategy and a plan for the mitigation of wildlife impacts in the Mojave and Colorado deserts to be supported by fees paid by renewable energy project developers. Number one. Number 2, it would eliminate the legal communication barriers between the CEC Siting Division staff and the commissioners. Number 3, it would allow project developers to pay fees to support the hiring of third-party consultants by the Commission to assist in the process. And 4th, it would authorize a recruitment and retention differential pay program for Siting Division staff. Let me make one additional comment before wrapping up here. We have received interest from the solar PV community that if we could also extend or expand the scope of this bill and the in lieu component, the in lieu program proposal specifically to include solar PV projects. I'm looking forward to meeting with them, talking to them, hearing from stakeholders to see if that can be accommodated as well. But that is not in the bill that's before you today. With that, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Is there testimony in favor? And while you're coming up, let the members of the public know that SB 205 by Senator Hancock will not be heard today. SB 205 will not be heard today.
Madam Chair and members, Delaney Hunter on behalf of Tessera Solar. We're a large solar developer with projects currently pending before the Energy Commission. Projects would be in Imperial County and San Bernardino County. We're in support of the bill. We appreciate the focus on this very important issue and look forward to working with Chairman Padilla and his staff to work out a couple of technical issues with the language, but we are in support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Madam Chair and members, Ed Manning on behalf of First Solar. First Solar is the largest photovoltaic manufacturer in the world. We have 2 projects in California, which are PV projects, 550 megawatts each, one in Southern California in the desert area, one in San Luis Obispo County. PV solar projects are not covered by the bill currently, and that has some unintended consequences. We've talked to Senator Padilla and would like to work with the committee and Senator Padilla to make sure before the bill leaves the Senate that PV projects get the benefits of the bill. First of all, both of our projects have ERA funding, which means they have to start construction by the end of this year to receive that funding. Both of our projects, like solar thermal projects, have Endangered Species Act issues that should be getting the benefits of the bill. In other words, we, under the way the bill is written now, we can't take advantage of the in lieu fee program to pay for mitigation up front. We need that relief to be able to meet the ERA funding deadline. Second, the bill currently allows projects that go through the CEC process, which are solar thermal projects, not PV. We go through the local entitlement process. It allows those projects to pay in lieu to pay fees to DFG, so that DFG, you could pay for the staff to work on your project. We would like the benefit of that. We'd like to be able to pay for service. Our concern is if we are not able to pay for service, that the solar thermal projects would be prioritized above PV projects, which does make sense. Last, in terms of the benefits of this bill is about jobs. Our projects will provide over 700 construction jobs for 3 years or more. So we think it would be in the interest of all the members of this committee to want the benefits of those jobs, the benefits of renewable energy, regardless of whether the project's a photovoltaic project or a solar thermal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. I think Senator Leno has a question.
Yes.
Mr. Manning, what percentage of your project costs is represented by the ARA funds?
I don't know the answer to that. I'll get you that. It's not insubstantial. I believe the grant amounts are in the area of, well, I know they're in tens of millions of dollars for each one. So it's not insubstantial, Senator Leno. And obviously, if we can't start construction by the end of the year, we lose that opportunity.
So the entire project could be put at risk.
It will be delayed.
Yeah.
It would certainly be delayed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Peter Miller. I'm representing the Natural Resources Defense Council. We're a national environmental organization. I work in the San Francisco office. I'm speaking in support of the bill. We very much appreciate the clarification that the bill would not reduce or in any way abbreviate the environmental review, but we are strongly in support of the effort to expedite and make as efficient as possible review of these projects by the Energy Commission in order to complete that process by the end of the year and maximize the potential for getting Recovery Act funding. We support the bill and look forward to working with the Senator, the committee, and the leadership to
And did you address the expansion, potentially, of the bill to photovoltaic or even natural gas?
I haven't thought about that. We're certainly open to looking at that.
I'd be interested in your comments on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, please. Right now? Okay.
Madam Chair and members, Erin Niemela representing the Large Scale Solar Association. We are the association of both large-scale wholesale developers that represent both PV and solar thermal. We are in strong support of the author and leadership's efforts to move this issue forward in order to qualify for both PV and solar thermal company ARA grants. We need a measure like this. We support the bill with amendments we'll be working with the author on to hopefully resolve some of the PV issues and some of the technical concerns, but we really support the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eisenberg, how are you?
Good. Chair members, Phil Eisenberg for the Independent Energy Producers. We saw a set of proposed to be amended language late last night, and we would be in support in that language, undoubtedly working with the author on refinements and sandpapering, but it's going in the right direction. We understand it's going to suspense anyway, so staff has recommended that anyway.
This is not going to suspense.
Okay.
This is a due pass, members. Mr. Eisenberg, staff is advising me that the amendments take care of the cost in the analysis. So, thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Ralph Simoni representing Mirant Energy. We had expressed concerns to the author's office about the previous version of the bill, which seemed to reallocate resources within the Energy Commission in terms of reviewing various projects. We were concerned that there would be unintended consequences because other worthy projects would be put behind renewable projects. Mirant currently has a rebuilding project, actually in Senator DeSaulnier's district, that has approval, power purchase agreement. We're ready to go. However, we're 20 months into a 12-month permitting process, and we were concerned that we would be delayed. We think that the current version of the bill sort of finesses that, but I think the committee should be aware that there are many shovel-ready projects ready to go, just awaiting that final approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Do you need for Mr. Simoni? Okay, Mr. Simoni.
Has it been clarified when you say this would finesse it? Has the CEC responded to this in terms of which projects they would look at first? Because it seems to me, because of the time frame with the ERA funds, they sort of have to put them on the fast track. Is this something that...
Senator, obviously there is some allocation of resources that are going on over there to hit certain projects that do have perhaps funding, federal stimulus funding timeframes. But I think it's important for the committee to know that as we look at the grid, as we look at improving it, as we look at ensuring that the lights are going to stay on, there is an inordinate delay in certain projects that are ready to go. That was my only point. And many of these projects actually assist the renewable because they're shaping the ability of renewables to come on stream.
Right. The bill, Senator Weiland, is aimed at 11 specific projects, correct, to the author?
And if I may, the original version of the bill
have ERA funds awarded to them. We want to move that out.
If I may, to Senator Weiland's question, the original bill that simply said, here's the deadline by which we got to give an answer. To oversimplify here, I think the unintended consequence people are referring to is literally taking projects that were lower in the inbox and putting them at the top of the stack and inherently pushing others down. One of the 4 points in this bill is the allowance for fees to be paid by applicants for the hiring of outside consultants and staff to sort of supplement and complement the CEC staff capacity so that the others aren't hurt in the process.
I will, yes. Senator Cox.
In view of what Senator Padilla, in view of what Mr. Simoni said, lots of projects there, but for the record, transmission capacity is there, and as these projects are completed, they can come online and be ready for use. Just for the record, the aspect relative to the transmission capacity.
I believe so. I'd certainly ask staff to sort of tell us if it's otherwise, but that's part of the greater review between ISO, PUC, and the CEC to ensure the transmission capacity there for all these projects.
I understand.
I think we should hear from the CEC on your question, Senator Cox, and also on the allocation of staff time relative to Mr. Weiland's question.
That'd be fine.
I see, Ms. Montanilla, whoever wants to represent the CEC, if you could come up, please. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll go back.
Right. Sorry to hang you up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Terry O'Brien, our Program Director of Siting, would be the best person to answer these questions.
Have a seat, sir.
Good morning. Let me first start with the transmission question. Some of the projects currently proposed, the ARA projects, there is not adequate transmission capacity for the entire proposed project output. For example, one of the projects down in Imperial County will need the Sunrise Power Link to come on and be constructed. to take the full output from that project, though perhaps about 300 megawatts of a 600 to 700 megawatt project, there would be adequate transmission capacity. The same situation exists for another project in San Bernardino County. Most of the other projects, there is currently adequate transmission capacity.
And the total capacity was how much, and how much are you able to accommodate? And by that accommodation, are you pushing some other projects offline in order to handle the projects which then can't come online because you don't have the capacity? So give us those numbers so that I can make a calculation in my mind as to.
In terms of the solar projects, there's about 4,700 megawatts.
Okay.
In terms of transmission capacity is probably in the neighborhood of, and this is a off the top of my head number, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3,800 megawatts probably.
So that's about roughly 80%, 75%.
Yeah, probably 80% plus.
And to the extent that you eliminate any projects in this particular situation, does that mean that you could pick up an additional 700 or 800 megawatts that would then, in fact, be able to go online immediately?
No projects would be eliminated. What would happen is that
But you're pushing them down. That was the senator's phrase, put them on top and the others go.
Well, that's the issue not in terms of transmission capacity. That's the issue in terms of natural gas versus solar projects. It is true that at this point in time and for some time past, the Energy Commission has been, and speaking for the staff here, the staff has been giving priority to the renewable projects because of the ARA deadlines. That has had an unintended and unfortunate consequence in terms of not being able to provide the resources necessary to move the natural gas projects as quickly as we would like to move them. And we have been resource constrained, and I think this bill addresses that issue in trying to get us some additional resources so we can move all projects as rapidly and expeditiously as possible.
And you're here this morning because you're in favor of the bill?
The Energy Commission has indicated.
One at a time, please.
If you don't have a position, what are you doing here?
Senator Cox, I asked him up to answer your questions.
I understand, but I'm a little frustrated by agencies who come and say we don't have a position, but if we had one, it would be yes or no.
We had one, it would be yes.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
All right. I don't know if that's exactly the way the administration determines these things, but it's on the record now.
I don't know either. I don't know either. But I got the answer I was looking for. All right. That's all I was caring about.
As usual, that's your birthday present. Senator Weiland.
In terms of the capacity, say the one that's dependent on the Sunrise power link, what would you do then if say that's not in place, there's not the capacity? Does that mean it doesn't meet the criteria of the project, or can the project simply send less power through what's already there?
Initially, the project would be able to deliver less power than it had the ability to produce, but it does not impact, for the two projects I mentioned, well, certainly the one in Imperial County, it is not impacting our review and the timing of our review.
But you're not going to reduce the capacity of the project simply because the transmission isn't there at this point?
Correct.
Okay. So it really has no effect. The inability to move all the energy. It really has no effect.
Not in terms of the regulatory review process. In terms of down the road, what's going to have to happen in a timely manner is for additional transmission capacity to be built to accommodate the generating capacity of the power plant.
Right. So that was simply an observation rather than anything that would affect. That was simply an observation.
Kind of a status report on the gap in the transmission capacity versus the output of these plants that are in the bill.
Yeah. Now, you would expect then, does the PUC have to also authorize all of this?
The The Public Utilities Commission has approved the Sunrise Power Link. It's my understanding that additional approval of an environmental document by the United States Forest Service has to occur.
Senator Keogh and I are pretty aware of the Sunrise Power Link.
Every tortured turn.
Every tortured turn. I just wanted to make sure that it would not affect the permitting of the plant itself.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Members, I do have to remind you, we still have to return to the floor, and there is also going to be a caucus, so any other comments from members? Senator Leno moves the bill. It's a due pass. We're going to continue public testimony. Are we still on support testimony? Alrighty. Mr. White, come on up. And then we'll hear from opposition. And we have not yet heard from finance. I won't forget.
Madam Chair and members, John White with the Clean Power Campaign. We're here in support of the bill. We appreciate the work that Senator Padilla is doing and that the administration has been doing. We hope that two can merge. We think the bill is very important, but the time is short. The one thing I wanted to speak to is the issue Mr. Manning mentioned regarding the eligibility of PV projects and other renewables for the in-lieu fee. I think the specific interest has been to kind of free up projects that have been at the CEC, which has jurisdiction over solar thermal, but the policy that the bill contains of allowing the opportunity for in-lieu mitigation fees properly constructed and properly implemented should be more available to the PV projects as well.
Thank you. Further testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Members, we have a motion on the bill. Finance.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Miriam Ingenito with the Department of Finance. We are generally supportive of this measure, and we do have a couple of issues we would like to continue to work with the author on, as well as the committee, pertaining to making sure that the in-lieu mitigation and endowment funds and placements work. We're concerned about explicitly identifying a holder or manager of the in-lieu fee mitigation funds, and want to clarify, are they actually account managers, or are they managing the land? That's a big distinction that we want to just make sure we're clear on. And then also, by specifically identifying those in statute down the road, it makes it difficult if, for whatever reason, we have issues with these two nonprofits. We generally prefer to name state entities in statute and are silent on naming specific entities. And we would like to offer the Department of Fish and Game as well to work with the author on all of these, the mitigation program and the endowments.
Thank you. Thank you. Members, again, Senator Weiland.
I'd just like to say I will be supportive of the bill today in committee, but that's because of the federal money and because these projects are already before the commission. Otherwise, my view is that the requirements for alternative energy have served to dramatically increase the cost of energy in California relative to other states, and the effect of that has been to drive those industries for which power is an important component of their costs to other states. That's sort of in a way not relevant to this bill because this has already occurred under that mandate. But and I'm supporting it because they're already before the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Weiland. Any other comments? Senator Corcoran.
Senator Padilla, when this bill was heard in Utilities and Commerce the other day, there were several policy issues raised, which I have not raised again in this committee since we're in Appropriations. And I believe you made a commitment that those would possibly be addressed by a hearing, bringing the bill back to Utilities and Commerce. So I just wanted to know how you're going to deal with that procedurally.
Working with the pro tem on that. So if individual briefings for members of the Energy Committee can suffice, then I think that may be a preferred approach. But if we need to bring the bill back to committee, obviously I'm the chair, so if that's necessary, then we'll do that. But I think the items that are fleshed out in language today were discussed as potential routes or direction the bill could take the other day in committee. We just didn't have the specific language in front of us as we do today.
I believe the motion today will be to send this bill to the floor. So the commitment is still there, though, to address the issues.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk to the pro tem about sending it back from the floor to committee and then back to the floor today.
I'm just concerned about the commitment.
There's an urgency. There's an urgency with all this, given not just the urgency for the projects, but the special session. There's also an opportunity when this bill comes back from the Assembly on concurrence.
Where any changes can't be made to the bill any longer. So my concern then is if we're going to bypass the commitment that it was coming back to committee that was made the other day, is the commitment still there to address those issues?
To address the policy issues?
Somewhere along the way,
yes.
If we're not going back to committee?
Yes.
Prior to the Assembly? Thank you.
The amendments in the bill before you, members, address the policy discussions that were heard in the Utilities Committee the other day. The motion today is to send this bill to the Senate floor. With amendments. And that motion is, I believe, Senator Leno's, correct? Correct. Any other comments, members? Then we'll call the roll, please.
Kehoe.
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox.
Aye.
Cox, aye. Alquist.
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Corbett.
Aye.
Corbett, aye. Denham.
Aye.
Denham, aye. Leno.
Aye.
Leno, aye. Lou.
Aye.
Lou, aye. Price.
Aye.
Price, aye. Walters.
No.
Walters, no. Weiland.
Aye.
Weiland, aye. Yee. 9-1.
9-1, that bill is out, Senator Padilla. Thank you, members. That's the only item on file. We're adjourned.